All right. So, yeah, Tom can join us again this week, which is nice. We can maybe go briefly over the past couple of weeks, what happened, yeah, I think that sounds good. So, well, this is the PR that's currently. Wait, let me make it a bit bigger. Probably too small. We discussed a bunch of things the past couple of weeks, and this is kind of the PR that's doing the changes we want. One of them is the sharding thing. I'm not sure if you were there for that, but we kind of discussed the sharding and decided on that for it to look like. Let's go to the example down here, like this. So we have 4-letter prefix and just shorten it to 2 letters, or, well, to the letters the package has if it's less than that. And I think that's okay with everybody. We also had some action items we wanted to do. Well, one of them was to talk to the cargo people. I don't think that has happened still. But me and John, we wanted to talk to the people in the cargo index. They have kind of a similar directory structure here where they do sharding to see why they chose that sharding scheme. Meanwhile, John and Alex made, where is it? Made this. Well, Alex with John's support.
John was an integral piece of this puzzle. I forgot a bunch of GDB flags. I never could have done it without him. Yeah, I made changes based on everyone's review. I think this is ready to roll. I know me and Robert have to go into the Thunderdome about the name, but other than that, I think it's ready.
Yeah, nice. So this, I guess it is a bit outside of the scope for the Nixpkgs architecture team, but we want this for this RC, and it might be a blocking issue to not have this. So it's nice to get work on this. So Tom, feel free to review this if you're into. I mean, Tom, you're in the Nix team.
Yeah. This is due to us reading too much stuff. So yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. Right, and then the other thing is that I have been working on a Rust tool to actually do the transition of the Nixpkgs path. Well, this is not right. It's had some updates here, but essentially right now it's a tool that goes through all files in Nixpkgs. It's based on Rust rnix. Do I have it described? I don't have it described anywhere just yet. I haven't had any updates since last week, but it essentially goes through all the files in Nixpkgs, parses them to figure out which references they have, and then kind of prints which files can be safely moved. So, well, if your file is only referenced from all packages.next, then it's fine, and otherwise it's not. This directly relates to this this change we have in here. It's kind of ensuring that we don't need to update any files in Nixpkgs when doing this transition, so that which is kind of nice, because then we don't need to handle any of these special cases where what happens if you have a file that's referenced from 2 packages. What if you have a file that references a file from some random other package? This gets rid of this, and it's also a nice requirement because it gets rid of the weird cases, which can then be manually fixed instead. Regarding this, I would like to discuss this here. So this is the PR. There's kind of 2 contention points I still see here. So one of them is this exactly this thing. All transitively referenced path, blah, 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 are under the same directory and can be moved around together without breaking any references in other Nix files. Robert said it's an implementation detail. Please separate the end goal from what the current tool can do. But I think this is what the current tool should do. So Robert, I'm not really sure what you mean by this comment here. So you said, I guess no. Bit more detail what Nixpkgs would look like before diving into the technical details.
Yeah, I think we have to keep in mind the audience. They just want to know like what is Nixpkgs going to look like after this RFC. And right now, the wording of the RFC is it seems to be focused mostly on the tool rather than the sort of the end state of Nixpkgs, which I think is more important. It's a declarative thing, you want to describe the end state.
Yeah.
So I don't actually object to the tool. I think it's okay for the tool to
just clear up the wording a bit.
Delegate to humans when things are a bit weird. But I don't think that's a very important thing for the RFC. It's just
I see.
Sort of a process.
So right, more declarative. So and actually we don't have anybody taking notes. Alex, can you?
Yeah. Let me find the notes link.
Yeah, it should be in Matrix End.
Just a moment. Okay.
Yes, I'll start it here. Let me make this like that. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. More declarative, describe the info. Kind of makes sense. And how do you have? So I guess, I mean, the example here is kind of like the end goal. Like we have this down here, but maybe it should be moved higher up, like this. Or maybe we could even move the example section up. So this is shown to the user first.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Well, this has also all of this in here, which describes how to get there. But yeah, okay, I see. Are there? Do you have any like better suggestions how to do that? I can kind of imagine it, but.
And I haven't read the full RFC since a few days ago, so there's probably new stuff. But I think you probably have a lot of based on what I'm hearing, I'm guessing there's like a lot of discussion about the implementation details of the tool, or like specifically, maybe like if you were to say like, oh, we're gonna have a tool and it will warn you about this case or that case, and this is any of those details. I think that's like useful stuff to document, maybe in like a supplementary kind of like maybe article or like something that you might attach to the RFC for anyone who's interested in it. But like by including it in the RFC, you would in a way kind of be declaring an API that you would later need to support.
I guess
I could see
maybe
that could get you in trouble.
I mean, maybe the important part is, I mean, this just describes like the criteria for moving the files around, but we could also just describe what the unit directory really is.
Bingo,
the unit. Oh, write it in quotes here. Like unit directory describes a set of self-contained pieces of Nix code that don't reference anything outside their own directory. Something like that.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of like the end state.
Yep.
then I'm going to write a bit around that. It definitely goes in that direction. I mean, it's also kind of the whole subflake.
Yep.
Parent flake problem is kind of goes into that. The thinking flakes, subflakes can reference the parent flake, which I think is associated with some problems. I think there are some in the issue tracker.
Yeah, it's it's an evil thing to do. Shouldn't be.
Yeah. But that's fine. I don't think we need to highlight.
You can remove that line. I was just messing with you.
We don't need to highlight the flake similarity, but it is probably going to be obvious to some people.
Yeah, and I think the goal is really to say hey, this is the structure of the repo. This is the rationale behind it. But how we get there is, I think, interesting to us, but maybe not relevant to a reader.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. So yeah, I agree with this, and I can make this change. Something else here.
I'll add that the reference that we're talking about is by file. It's important to do because you have to reference your dependencies. This file.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like this.
Yeah. And then maybe instead of directory, you might say subtree.
Okay, that works.
The last line, because I'm allowed to do / to subdirectories, but not ..
Oh wait, so the unit subtree. Oh, subtree. Well, let's do directory here then.
Yeah. Sweet.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. This isn't the final wording, but we can write something around this.
How did you get Vim bindings on this the hedge doc?
It's down
Not to derail.
Down here.
Oh, okay, cool.
Very useful. I also set it to 2 spaces. I think that's unfortunately not the same for everybody. So.
Oh, it is for me now.
All right. Something else here is Nixedit. So I made the suggestion here. Though with this RFC, Nixedit could be updated to not have to rely on that anymore. So on the meta.position. For the packages, could be updated to not have to rely on that anymore for the packages in the new hierarchy. And Robert says it shouldn't or couldn't. But I just replied 30 minutes ago that it could if it's a stable API, I believe. And there are some benefits to it. So Nixedit could work on packages where meta.position can't be evaluated. For example, syntax errors. Nixedit might open the wrong file due to a builder not propagating it. Yeah. So
I could see a reason to build something like that. I wouldn't hard code it into Nix, but it can be done.
Oh yeah, hard.
Define lanes.
Well,
that's possible.
Yeah. All right. I'd hope we wouldn't hard code it into Nix, but rather have describe a stable API for tools to open Nix sources or something like that.
Yeah, I would just. Seems very out of scope to me. I think this is this is a good thing to do in the future, but just my god, I think it might just gonna add such a can of worms.
Yeah, it would derail conversation.
Yeah.
So just better.
Yeah. So we could just
be unaffected.
Well, it is. Cool. I guess unaffected. Well, it is. This is the only interaction we're describing right now, and that is kind of an interaction. But I guess we can remove it to not.
Yeah, I mean, you could just say that meta.position is still going to work in this. You could just say Nixedit will not be affected, and there is in the future there's potential to maybe extend or improve it somehow. But I don't really see.
Yeah. So.
And I mean also just that Nixedit will continue to work. Maybe that it would be cool that maybe you wouldn't have to write meta.position anymore, but also the old way still works. So why modify Nix?
All right, so I'll write this down here. We don't mention it because it could derail. But I'm also kind of so Robert, you agree that it could be done, or that it just to reiterate.
Yeah. It
Can see it working.
It can be done, but I think the simple thing to do is bad architecture. So I don't really want to go into it.
Yeah. Oh, what is this? This. And then this. So, well, the last thing here I haven't addressed is just that currently, I guess this kind of goes into general convention, what we do here, because we do have some discussions summarized in these meeting notes and these Discord threads and so on. But I guess it makes sense to also summarize them in the RFC text. But I'm not sure. Should we link back to these issues here? Like in the end, we will make an RFC, and I guess we can
Some
like
amount of
link
linking-
this in the top.
Yeah. Some amount is fine if you think it's like enough context, but like there's no need for completeness or 100% here. Just whatever is useful.
Yeah, I guess honestly, I think. Do we? Should we link back to the NUT issues TC? I think we can probably just link to it in the top of the RFC. Like link to this here at the top of the RFC. Saying like, this RFC has been developed in this repository.
I don't think I agree. I think the RFC should be a self-contained document, and the discussion for it should happen on the RFC.
Yeah, you might like in a discussion, you may say like, oh, hey, we discussed this. If you wanted to get up to speed on the rationale, like you could read the meeting notes or read this or that. But
well, that should be clear from the RFC, right?
Yeah.
So we shouldn't have to link it. And if we do feel like we have to link it, we should just improve the RFC.
Yep.
Well, I guess so. It should be discussed in the RFC repo, not in this issue tracker. What if we archive the repository when we make the PR?
I don't think that's the issue. I just think it's like having like a single source of truth. I mean, like at least for me.
Yeah.
Like I just like if I was reading an RFC, I wouldn't want to be like jumping between 2 or 3 pages to like get up to speed on it.
I guess it would be more like if something is like unclear, like how did they arrive to this specific way of doing it?
Yeah, and so that's
is there any more context to it?
Yeah, and so kind of what I meant when I was saying like you might like link somebody to it. Like I don't mean like don't put at the bottom of the RFC like if you want to know the rationale, go read this. But if you were like in a discussion with someone and maybe you were feeling lazy-ish, and you could just say like, hey, you know, maybe like you could check out some of the rationale here if you're interested, but definitely like discuss with people in the RFC comments because it's like where that stuff should live.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, because actually too, there's another one that like, you know, if one repo or if, you know, if like repo were to like disappear or like a link died or something like that, like you would still want your RFC to be like self-contained.
Yeah. So I guess we just link the other way then. So we just say like in this tool, we will just link here to like this RFC. Well, we can archive the repository and then link to this RFC has been PR'd to the next RFC's repository. Continue discussing there instead of opening issues here.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, link from original repo to RFC PR and archive. I think it should. Yeah, we can unarchive, I believe, if it turns out that we need to like close the RFC because it's, well, hopefully that doesn't happen. But if we need to go back to the drawing board, so to say, I guess we can probably unarchive the, or just open a new repo
it's
or
not
something.
scary at all.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds good. So I think everything, I just made the changes you suggested, the others here, Robert, like half an hour ago. But yeah, I think it would be good to review the end state of this RFC, or for everybody to kind of give their check mark somehow. We can't really do that with GitHub though. Like,
Can't you
which is a bit
click on the
unfortunate.
right? You see the little spinny dude under reviewers? The circle-y boy?
This?
No, down a little bit. So like next to each people, next to each person.
Yeah.
If you click those again, it will cause them to re-review.
But I mean, like the entire state of the RFC, not just the changes here. Because this
we
only allows.
Read it and write our own PRs to improve it. Right?
Okay, so how should we do the kind of formal approval process then? Like, we could.
I think we can just merge the PRs that we've accepted. Then we'll have the draft version, and then each of us can like use the edit button, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then when we agree in the meeting, you can say it's ready for proper RFC. And we'll go from there.
I didn't quite get that. So, wait, how to approve? Let's see, draft approved by every member. So you say it's a bit confusing because we also will have a PR in the RFC's repository. But you mean to do it before that, or can you maybe write it down a bit?
Basically, what I'm trying to say is just you do it like you were writing code, right? You just we have a master branch with the RFC in it. We make PRs to the RFC, and when we think the RFC is ready to enter the RFC process,
I see.
We will have merged those PRs, right? And you can archive the people.
If I got that right, have a PR to say that the RFC is ready.
Well, I got like, okay, so.
What I was trying to say is it's not ready yet, right? So we want to do each of us, I think, another pass and
okay, yeah,
make some PRs to improve it. And then when we all agree that it's done, which we can do in the meeting, then it's done and we archive.
Okay, sounds good. So here's or everybody goes over it, makes PRs to improve it, accept in the meeting. Like pre-release branch and review as a merge.
Like do a PR, like make a pre-release branch that's basically just like the contents of master, and then you just make a bogus PR that people review.
We don't need special branches or anything.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think. I don't know. I think we could all just like be in a meeting and be like, "I'm cool with it."
Yeah, I guess that's good. We have these
If
recorded.
someone has a problem with it, they can speak up.
Yeah.
Right. General consensus for the most part, by veto, by exception.
Yeah.
Two-thirds vote ratified by 3/4 of the members.
That sounds good. So we have, and also we should have all the issues and PRs closed. This should be 0 and 0. Yeah, and here, these last changes, I guess I'll do these changes, but I think it would be nice if there's other feedback, we just create PRs instead. This way we can actually merge this PR and we don't need to keep this open for too long. Yeah. Have 0 open issues and PRs. Okay, so can we put this down here for well, Robert already gave a big review there, but I'm going to do like everybody go through the entire RFC in RFC draft and make a PR for any changes or anything that needs changing. Does it sound good?
Yeah.
All right.
And I don't.
We have,
yeah. I don't even mean that in a bad way. I really don't even mean that in a bad way. It's like it's the object system is esoteric. You could write a book about it.
Yeah. I wonder too. All right, and then we have. Oh, have you done any testing on this?
Yeah, so I actually I booted up my Darwin box, and that's like what I'm talking to you all on right now. So I'm gonna probably run some tests right after this. But I think the other one was like just in terms of the actual like code changes. Robert, do you have any more input on that, or like is there any more changes that we need done to this before I like dive into benchmarking and stuff? Not because I just thought like the benchmarking wasn't.
I think it's good the way it is. I might actually approve it.
Ooh.
Is there? Have we? And I don't know if it's just been covered. Let me know. But if the reader and the file size prim ops are necessary to make this palatable, is there like how does that affect time scale or not time scale, but the time schedule?
So I don't think that the file size change is necessary. We just needed, and actually, okay, let me just rephrase that. We don't need this RF. Like, we don't need this in order for sharding or anything else to work. This is like an optimization that I think is seems almost like a no-op on Linux, but for Darwin and for any system that doesn't have like the ability to do a a dir ENTs style syscall for their file system, like this is helpful to help optimize those.
But I mean, we had an issue earlier about how everything is statted. And so basically the stats are not lazy.
Yeah, that's resolved by this.
Because this fixes that.
And so my question is if that is not done, then like how bad is that? Because that means like everything is a stat every time.
Yeah, I need to benchmark, but
and if the cost of that is too high and it requires a Nix version beyond a certain level, then we probably behoove us to do something along the lines of wait till that Nix version is adopted by the vast majority of people before making this change, or not. I don't know if the decision has been made yet.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, I'll benchmark today. I'll say, based on the stuff that I saw with the Node.js stuff, even on my Darwin box, which I think is going to be the one that we're expecting this to improve, I would say like the reader stuff was noticeable, but not that bad. It was like one of those things that was like it adds an extra few seconds the first time you do eval. And so like if you're doing active dev without basically like where you don't have an eval cache, you're adding like an extra maybe 20 something seconds in my case for like 8,000 packages. So I think like at worst case scenario, you might add an extra like minute to eval on Darwin, but I really even doubt that. But I'll be able to kind of shed some more light on that today after testing. And I guess the point I'm trying to make is like the sharding stuff will work with old Nix versions on any file system. But like this is really just like an optimization. It's an optimization we definitely want, but I wouldn't want it to like block unless we,
I see.
found
And
out that it was like really catastrophic or something.
And it was because of the cost of that for a full flat that that led us towards the requirement for sharding. Because if we didn't shard, then it would be too much. Is that the case?
I think that doesn't matter because you need to like with or without sharding, you will need to figure out the names of all the files you need to put in an attribute set before you can evaluate any of the items.
Okay, so it doesn't do the smart thing and only read the DIRs of the attribute prefixes that are relevant for the.
No, Nix can't do that.
Yeah, that
because it's like strict in attribute names.
Okay, so it does seem though that this so the stat storm essentially is still there. We might just get lucky and turn it into a read end storm or read. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Also,
and I think, yeah, go ahead.
I mean, on like Linux, there's this optimization, right? The get dense, which then is very fast, but I don't know, internally it might still do a lot of stats, but it's not a problem. On Darwin, it's the main problem, right? Because there might not be such an optimization, and we'll find this out when Alex does the testing there.
Okay.
If it's bad on Darwin, then yeah, that's kind of bad, and we might if it takes a minute to evaluate Nixpkgs, we can't do that.
Well, I mean, it currently takes a minute to evaluate Nixpkgs.
Well, what are you about? Well, okay. What's the eval you are performing?
Oh.
Okay, if I'm on my Darwin box and I do if I have like a pin of Nixpkgs that I'm evaluating for the first time, it takes over a minute.
But is that eval time or is that like
eval? Yeah.
Go grab it, go splat it out onto disk.
I mean, both, but like it takes just a second to copy, download the tarball and unzip it. The thing it spends most of its time doing is evaluating. And granted, I mean, there's an eval cache, so the first time that it's done,
let's make sure we're measuring the same exact stuff
yeah.
as we do this. I think it's possible we're measuring different things.
I can't I've used Nix on Darwin as well. It doesn't take a minute to evaluate anything from Nixpkgs. But Alex, do you mean like a Nix env-qa something where you evaluate all the packages or something?
Yeah, like if I need to do a search, so like let's say I do Nix search and I've got an updated pin of Nixpkgs, like that's a minute for sure.
Okay, but that's I think that's the same on Linux.
Yeah.
That's no problem. Like we aren't concerned about like Nix search performance. We only care about like if you do a Nix build -a Firefox, will this complete in like a second? That's the most it
and
take.
it should. And I would so I think like it should.
Well, there's a concern that it might not if we have like 10,000 stats that are done. Although 10,000 is still not a lot for a computer, but
yeah,
we just need to.
Well, we gotta
get Darwin. I think
we gotta get some real testing because we're getting all abstract. I'll say like I'm not too concerned. This is like I think the optimization is like good to do, but I don't think it's like blocking or anything like that.
Okay, yeah. So
should be too hard to create a large directory and read it.
Okay. I just want to double check on some things. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think regardless of like aside from this RFC, does the read file type stuff, does that look good? Robert, or I don't know
Yeah,
what
I
the
think
review
it does.
process is for that.
Well,
I'm not trying to put you on the spot. You can take
I'll
another
see
look
the
at it.
report so we can review it
Okay, cool.
soon, hopefully.
Sounds good.
All right. Then, yeah, I think that's about it then. Is there anything? Well, let's briefly go through the issues again just to see what could be done. And actually, it would be awesome if we could have, I'll explain what unit is. I think that's resolved by the PR I have. This one is resolved by the PR I have. This is, we still need to do that, or that's kind of where this comes from, the talking to other people to figure out why they've done sharding in a certain way. But I think in the end, we should still do some git speed benchmarks. I think this depends on this PR to have a tool for it, because once we have a tool, it becomes like trivial to do speed benchmarks on it. Well, not trivial, but much easier. And we can try out different sharding schemes then. The read your speed, this is being addressed by the PR by Alex. Code owners, I think we resolved this, yes. Related work, do we need to mention related work? I guess it would be good, yeah. And this is also where we can mention the crates IO index and stuff. I'd appreciate, like, I don't know, Tom, could you make a PR to change the RFC to mention the related work?
Yeah, I guess we can pull that in if that helps.
All right, I think it's, well, do we need this actually? I'm not convinced that we actually need to mention related work. If we have a speed,
I don't think
if we have
need
speed
to.
measurements, then
there'll be references all throughout the commentary for the RFC pointing people at like the detailed, even if it's archived. So it's I don't think it belongs in the RFC. It belongs in like references, and in some sense the conversation around the RFC is the full references if anyone really wants to go digging through it. Now,
okay.
if we want to say something like, hey, because of this result, i.e. benchmark blah at this paragraph, we made this decision, then yeah, then you want to have a link. But just linking every single possible thing is overkill.
Okay, so yeah, let's close this and let's say let's only link to other to related work if they did something, if they did like a benchmark which influenced our decision. Okay, that sounds great. And then to do sharding or not, this also depends on the benchmark stuff. If sharding is, well, yeah, depends on that. So I think that's fine. Tom, do you also want to take something on? Like, I mean, I think just like reviewing the RFC draft. That would be great for everybody.
Yeah. I remember last time I looked at it, I didn't have too much that was necessary, but I can do a once over.
Yeah, sounds great. All right, then I think we have everything discussed. Or is there anything anybody else wants to mention? All right. Well, then I guess that's. Oh yeah, next week, I'm on Christmas vacation. I assume most of you are too.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, let's. I think.
See you in the new year.
Yeah, I'll delete the meeting. Let's meet again at like, what is that? Like the 2nd of January? Or is anybody still on vacation in the 1st January week? All right, sounds good. 2nd of January then. And yeah, hopefully we can. I mean, should we do like a timeline expectant, like an expected timeline? Because I would like to like January 2023 for the RFC. Sounds pretty good.
Yeah. Sorry to go backwards a hot minute, but I want to know if this is a good idea or a dumb idea. Should there be some way to directly traverse into the shard that you want? So you could say something like, top level dot, ABCD dot, and then the thing that you need, and then that bypass, because now you're telling Nix exactly what attribute to go to, it bypasses the whole reader thing. So in other words, you can be explicit if you want to, if you want to bypass the thing. Is this now? It's a complexity. It's an annoyance.
I wouldn't.
We'll start seeing this everywhere, and then people are going to be like, "Well, what in the world is this?" And it's going to look weird. Yeah, exactly. Like something like that. Is that a? I have no idea.
I would think because this was something that I messed with, and I really, really regretted doing it. It's like you have an aliasing issue, where if I change a package or if I refer to a package by one reference, synchronizing that with an alias is just a headache. I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm saying it's like way, way easier to shoot yourself in the foot that way. Particularly when you're doing overrides. Because if I override one reference, I need to remember to do the aliasing at a particular time and place so that it also accepts that override change. If that makes sense. Because so in memory, they're not just symbols. Like these are pointing to potentially unique records that need to be identical.
Yeah, I think that is a concern. Like in Nix packages, that's even now a problem, right? With like Python 2.7, Python 2, which are aliases of each other. And this would just introduce another kind of alias where people will need to know, like, what can I do with it? What is expected? What works? What doesn't? But I also think it's not really needed. Like, we can maybe do this in the future if it becomes needed. I don't think we will need it, but yeah, that can be decided later.
The only case where I did have like a real use for it was to use Nix eval write 2 was very useful for that. So I was able to regenerate kind of like a large number of Nix files or JSON files by referring to them to their like the actual directory as attribute path. But like that would not be something that was exposed to the user. That was more like a trick of, for example, like how we're doing with the path stuff right now to detect like, oh, is this or that, or we're going to move files. It can be useful for that type of thing. Just to play with write to, but like as something for users, it was just like,
sure. Okay.
I screwed up a bunch of overrides.
I mean, we are very open. Like if we keep the initial kind of exposed API small, we can still make it much bigger later. Like I'm also imagining we could have a like packages dot hello dot shard, for example, which or shard directory or unit directory maybe even, which gives you the direct path to that, which. I mean, it's kind of the same as packages.
You might as well allow relative paths to enter those.
Yeah. I think the whole point is to get rid of like you're trying to abstract away where the thing is on the file system.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, like, I agree that like meta.position is necessary so that Nix edit works, but like from within an evaluation, you almost like. I don't know. I wouldn't make it any easier to start referring to things by directory paths.
Yeah. Cool. If you want to make things faster, which is the goal here, right? If you want to make things faster, I think you have good alternatives to achieve that.
Yeah. Okay, that I think that is pretty much addressed, right, Tom?
Yep. Thank you.
But Tom,
Yeah, but
I'm not disagreeing with the idea because I did the exact same thing.
yeah, it's good to bring up ideas. And I guess maybe last thing here, so we do have a lot of discussions over these dozens of meetings by now. Should we kind of write down all of the arguments for and against stuff? Well, I don't want to, but
no.
it would be
that's overkill right now. Like for big things, yes, but for other things, no.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess
we can apply a little bit of common sense.
Yeah. Sounds good. Yeah, that would be like. Well, also it's kind of a trade-off. If the RFC becomes too big, people won't read it, even though we might have like all the arguments with like kind of weight-based arguments and whatever.
No, we can just rehash all that stuff in the actual RFC itself, which is, I think, kind of what we had talked about. Like, you want the RFC to be self-contained. So it's good that we've like kind of spitballed ideas and like come to, we've come up with our own opinions about how things should work. But like, if there is further discussion on it, I think we should just rehash that stuff in the actual RFC.
Yeah, sounds good. And we can still kind of fish out the arguments we made in the past and kind of look at the discussions, like how did we get there?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah, sounds good then. Well, then I think let's see each other in 2 weeks, I think. And
I'm gonna miss y'all so much.
Well, yeah, have a nice Christmas as well. And New Year.
Later.